ongoing Gimmie 10 series. I'm filming this in advance, in advance of Freddy's video. I don't actually know if Freddy is going to is going to take a slight break from starting with 1980, or if he's going to put out this weekend. But anyway, I decided I'll film my choices in advance. Very difficult choices. I ended up leaving it. I have my 10 picked, but I left out so much stuff. There's so much stuff I wanted to show. I ended up leaving out Bowie, Scary Monsters, Hawkwind Levitation, Bauhaus in the Flat Field, Kate Bush's Forever and Ever. Yeah, okay. Before I get to my 10 choices, I'll just briefly go back to 1979 and two choices which I forgot to show, which I'd actually picked out, but this Heat, a self-titled album. I did mean to show this for 79, but I don't know, it just completely slipped my mind on the day. And Talking Heads' Fear of Music, which I actually had picked out, and I had set it aside, but for some reason I don't know. I was looking around and I was like thinking, hang on, I've only 9 picked out. Anyway, on to 1980. My choices, my top 10 choices for 1980 in response to Freddy Bigstar's Gimme 10. Okay, I think a lot of people will be showing this. Closer by Joy Division. Only their second studio album, because they did only do 2 in their short time together. Again, on Factory Records. This is an original pressing. Yeah, so this is an even darker album than Unknown Pleasures, and it kind of prefigures the tragic end of Ian Curtis, who committed suicide just before this album was released. And the cover had actually been picked out before his death, but it does kind of add to the overall air of kind of despair. But still, this is an amazing album. A grim but fantastic. It's kind of a grim beauty, if so to speak. It's an album I think that's, every serious record collection should have. Yeah, so definitely one of the top 10 choices for 1980. Again, another one which I think probably a lot of people will be showing, and again, back to Talking Heads. Talking Heads, Remain in Light. I think this is a very, very strong contender for their best album. The last of their 3 albums to be produced by Brian Eno. Yeah, this has opening track. Born Under, is that the opening track? Born Under Punches. Sure, is it? For some reason, I think, yeah. Anyway, it has that amazing bass line that opens the track. Once in a Lifetime, and has that whole kind of Afrocentric, kind of Afrobeat influence. Yeah, absolutely amazing album from Talking Heads. Excuse me. Now here's something from Grace Jones, not her debut album, but it is the album that pretty much brought her to the general public. I think she had 2 other albums possibly 2 or 3 other albums before this, but they, excuse me, they're generally kind of forgotten. But Jesus, excuse me. This is Warm Leatherette, and this is kind of very interesting, kind of post-punk influence, kind of post-punk mutant disco kind of thing. There's quite a few cover versions on this, and there's actually a cover of Warm Leatherette, the single of which I showed in my 78 update, Warm Leatherette by The Normal. There's also covers of Love is a Drug, and yeah, this is an original pressing on Islands. I think subsequent reissues had a different cover, but I really love this. That really kind of captures Grace Jones and her kind of scary kind of, don't mess with her kind of mode. Yeah, so that's her first really kind of good album that brought her to public attention. Okay, I don't have anything by the Residents further on from 76's Third Rock and Roll, but this is a Residents related album. In some ways it's kind of a Residents album in all but name. This yeah, it's released on Ralph Records, which is associated with the Residents. This is by Snakefinger, and he was actually, I just forget his name just now. He was an English guitarist who collaborated quite a bit with the Residents. Snakefinger is a name he recorded under, but I just can't think of his name just now. But his real name. But this is kind of, being Residents related. This is highly kind of off the wall, experimental. Kind of post-punk influence, and there's even a bit of a kind of weird reggae kind of a vibe going through some of the tracks. But yeah, Snakefinger, he died in 1987, but he had a highly distinctive guitar style, which is shown off to extremely good effect on this album, and it's called Greener Pastures. Sorry, Greener Pastures. Okay. I featured their debut album in the 79 update, and now here they are with their second album, The Cure, 17 Seconds. Yeah, so kind of continuing in a similar vein to their debut, perhaps with a darker vibe. This has the single A Forest. Yeah, this is a kind of a darker, kind of a gothy feel to much of their later output, before they kind of became all went off in a much more commercial and successful direction. But this is a kind of brooding, atmospheric album from The Cure. Moving on. Now, Magazine has been featured heavily in the last couple of Gimmie 10s. Now, this is an album they, I think, was their last album? Or maybe they, no, I'm not sure. Anyway, no, I think it's their second last album actually. This came out in 1980, and this is The Correct Use of Soap by Magazine, fronted by former Buzzcocks member Howard Devoto. This has a couple of great tracks on it. A song from Under the Floorboards, which is one of my favourite Magazine tracks. Also, what's another one? Oh yeah, one with a kind of an unpronounceable name. I won't bother. But just a little bit of a story behind this. The album cover was designed by Malcolm Garrett. Malcolm Garrett, kind of contemporary of Peter Saville, came from Manchester, found fame with a lot of his album designs for the Buzzcocks and for magazine, and he went on to design album covers like Duran Duran's Rio, for instance. About 3 years ago, he did a lecture here in Cork, and I went along. I brought this along with me, and I met him, and I got him to sign it. Very interesting guy, very, very nice, very down to earth guy. I had a chat with him, talked with him about Joy Division, and about how he said he saw, about seeing them live. He said they were crap live. That was his honest opinion, and he said, his opinion was, that Malcolm, what was his name again? Malcolm Hannett was largely to kind of, credit for their sound, which is kind of, there is a ring of truth to that. But very interesting to meet him and to get this signed by him. But anyway, that's kind of, I do have another similar story just coming up in a minute. The Teardrop Explodes, their debut album, Teardrop Explodes, from post-punk, kind of psychedelic post-punk from Liverpool, headed by Julian Cope. Some great songs on here. Sleeping Gas, Treason, Bouncing Babies, Reward. They had a kind of a very brief period of commercial success when this came out. They had a few hit singles, and then they kind of imploded. But then Julian Cope went on then to forge a kind of an individual solo career of his own. But this is actually a reissue from the mid-80s. The original cover, it had a different cover originally. I actually hate this cover. It's like it's really kind of unimaginative. It's like whoever came up with this, it's just like, oh, this album is called Kilimanjaro. Let's just find a picture of Kilimanjaro and stick it. I mean, okay, it's a fine, it's nothing wrong with the picture itself, but it's just very unimaginative, I think. The original cover was this kind of weird psychedelic cover picture of the band. But anyway, that's enough of that. Kilimanjaro by the Teardrop Explodes. No, this is another a lot of bands released debut albums in 1980. This is another debut. This is the self-titled debut album by Killing Joke. Killing Joke, a band from London led by Jazz Coleman. This is brutal, heavy. This album could kind of be credited with kind of inventing industrial rock. This is just really kind of heavy, brutal post-punk. The one track, "The Weight," was actually covered by Metallica. I think it was covered. It was on Garage Days Revisited, and Requiem, the opening track, is that I love that one as well. That's another favorite of mine. But this was released on on EG Records, and it's a pretty pounding, heavy, brutal album. Killing Joke, self-titled. Okay, I'm about to get on to my second signed album story. If you just bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, another classic album that came out in 1980 is this one, and this is by John Cooper Clarke. This is Snap, Crackle and Bop. John Cooper Clarke from Salford in Manchester, spoken word punk poet. This album, this is probably one of his best, I think. This has Evidently Chicken Town, which was used in it's probably best. It was used late in The Sopranos, I think, in the second last episode. Also, Beasley Street, which I think is an absolutely fabulous. It's a fabulous kind of melding of bitter kind of hard-hitting poetry with music. Yeah, he's an absolutely amazing, legendary figure, John Cooper Clarke. This was released on, I think, CBS. Yeah, no, Epic actually. But I actually saw John Cooper Clarke live 2 years ago. He came here to Cork, and I brought this along with me again. And after the gig, I met him backstage. There was a few hung around a bit, and along with a couple of other people, went in to meet him backstage. It was quite a weird. I met him. Plus his manager. His manager is actually Johnny Green, who was the former road manager for the Clash. So I met him as well. And two of them got absolutely plastered drunk. John Cooper Clarke himself was just really. He was quite merry, and he gave me a large gin and tonic, and which I'm not used to drinking, but I was absolutely blotto drunk. I was talking for ages with him about what I'd only kind of a blur. It's like a kind of a blur, but I really enjoyed myself, and I got this signed by him. Where is it? God bless you, Dave, Dr. John Cooper Clarke. And yeah, it was fantastic to meet him. But anyway, I'm going off. Yeah, it's an amazing album, and it rightly deserves a place in the top 10 for 1980. So I'm sorry to be going off on these kind of rambling kind of stories, but I just had to tell that. Okay, last one. The Human League. Human League Travelogue. This is the last album they released before they split up. They split up the following year, and they went, of course, their kind of new one half went off to form Heaven 17, but anyway, I did that. That's another story. That's for the next. That's for the next update. But anyway, in the meantime, they released Travelogue. Yeah, the Black. This is still kind of in keeping with their kind of more experimental science fiction, dystopian kind of side. The Black Hit of Space is kind of really typifies this with this kind of weird lyrics about it's about a hit single which becomes so big that it kind of I don't know, it turns into a black hole or something. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, it was the last album they did really where before they became kind of mega famous, and they were still in their kind of weird experimental kind of slightly kind of out there kind of phase, but yeah, I really like this album, and I mean I like their kind of more poppy stuff as well, but anyway, okay, I think that's it. That's everything. So that's my Gimme 10 for 1980 response to Freddy Bigstar, and if you haven't already, do check out Freddy Bigstar's Gimme 10 series, and have a great weekend.